That young man. That young man. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I had to play that clip before at the beginning of this video because I wanted everybody to see that in case you haven't seen that. That's a very, very powerful moment right there, and I was kind of surprised and kind of shocked that she come out and did this. But, folks, that is what Christians are supposed to do. When we are trespassed upon, we are supposed to forgive. You know, not necessarily forget, but we're supposed to forgive these people because, you know, this kid has been radicalized, does not know what he's doing. If somebody could have, you know, interdicted this guy, if you will, intervened in his life, maybe they could have got him to come to Christ, and maybe we'd still have Charlie Kirk, folks. Maybe. Maybe if there wasn't so much hate out there on the internet, for goodness sakes, maybe this kid wouldn't have been radicalized as far as he was. That's all these Christians want, folks, and I'm part of that group. We just want to coexist with other people, right? We don't care if we disagree. That's fine with us. We love a good argument. We love a good debate. But this side, this sect of the Democratic Party, it's not all, once again, not all, they don't want to coexist with us. They don't want a Christian nation. They don't want any opinions that are not completely and totally in alignment with their worldview. They don't want any of that. They don't want to hear it because our opinions and our worldview shatters theirs, as a matter of fact, because, once again, there's a lot of delusion going on in leftists' brains, folks. But that's not what we're talking about. And I just wanted to discuss that right quick because that was a very powerful moment, and I think everybody needs to see that, folks. That is where we're at in this country. That you can go and take out a man's wife, and she will forgive you. Now, any of you leftists out there, are you still in the camp that, oh, Christians are evil, huh? Forgiving somebody for assassinating her husband. That's evil, right? That's evil. Yeah. Try to sell that to somebody else. Let's get into this, folks. Emil Bove shut down bribery probe of Trump border czar Tom Homan. Folks, this is no surprise to me. Come to find out, there were several investigations into a lot of people that just so happened to be aligned with Trump. Right? This is no shock. The Biden DOJ was a weaponized Department of Injustice that was only there to serve the means and the ways of the Democratic Party. That was it, folks. That's all they were there for. They were oversaw many cases of Joe Biden violating Supreme Court orders. They did not advise Joe Biden, hey, look, the Supreme Court said you can't do this. Joe Biden said, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. They didn't tell him that. He went and did what he wanted to do, folks. Violating the First Amendment right. Violating federal code on that southern border. Many different laws were violated. Violating the laws all over the place. Violating court orders. all over the place. It was a wild time to be alive. I'm not going to lie about that. So this comes as no shock that, oh, all of a sudden, there's this tape out there, this audio tape. You'll see. Let's get into this, folks. This is a fascinating news article with a whole hell of a lot of logical inconsistencies, if you will. In a blockbuster weekend story, MSNBC reported that the Trump Justice Department shut down a bribery investigation of Tom Homan, now the White House border czar, which recorded him allegedly accepting $50,000 of cash during a sting operation in the summer of 2024. Now, right off the top, there's many questions I have with this. Is that so? Well, how come he was not arrested at that time? They're just going to get this tape, this audio tape? Apparently he's accepting a bribe? Hang on just a second, you're not going to go after this dude? That's what the corporate press is telling us. But come to find out, it's not so what it seems, right? That there's other information that they're not telling you yet. But what they want you to do is they want you to read that big, beautiful headline that Donald Trump's Department of Justice is corrupt. And then they give you why it's corrupt. Oh, they shut down an investigation when clearly he accepted a $50,000 bribery. The federal investigation was launched in western Texas in the summer of 2024 after a subject in a separate investigation claimed Homan was soliciting payments in exchange for awarding contracts should Trump win the presidential election, according to an internal Justice Department summary of the probe reviewed by MSNBC and people familiar with the case. Oh, is that so? Once again, anonymous sources are telling us this, but hang on just a second. The border czar. Do you think the border czar is in charge of doling out contracts for immigration enforcement at a time when they haven't won the presidency yet and they weren't sure if they were going to win? Are you serious that he's going ahead and accepting bribes already? They haven't won yet. Plus, he's not in charge of issuing or granting any sort of contract to anybody. That's fascinating. But once again, that's just a single logical inconsistency here. Let's keep going. Homan was recorded accepting $50,000 in bills in a bag from the fast casual chain Cava, Reuters reported. There's another logical inconsistency, if you will. Now you might think, well, where's the logical inconsistency is that? How do we know he accepted the cash? How do we know that? How do we know it's Tom Homan, for one? Once again, they don't provide the audio. We don't have it. I can't find it anywhere. We don't have that audio. Plus, it's audio. It's not video. How do we know he actually accepted the cash? How do we know it was from whoever it was from? How do we know these people weren't faking? Right, once again, there's no evidence of any of this. None whatsoever. Plus, how do you, once again, how do you know somebody accepted the cash on an audio tape? But, hey, there could be a way to do that. Look, I'm not going to think it's outside the realm of possibility that, you could say, oh, thank you for giving me this $50,000 in cash. I am now going to go put it somewhere else. Like, do people actually do that? It's insane, It really is. FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche issued an extraordinary joint statement in which they condemned the investigation as baseless. The Trump White House called it a blatantly political investigation. Now, does that sound like an extraordinary joint statement to say, yeah, this investigation was BS, it was politically motivated? Once again, they're drumming this thing up. It's fake news, folks. This is all fake news. No, not the investigation. The investigation was a fake investigation. But, hey, that's just my bias. Look at the facts. That's all I can say about that. There are none, as a matter of fact. MSNBC and later other outlets reported that rather than the investigation being over or it having found no evidence of wrongdoing, investigators were waiting to see if Homan followed through on the quid with a quo once he took office. Oh, is that what they were doing? Oh, instead of arresting the man for accepting a bribe right then and there, They're going to wait until he gets into office. Wait a minute. Hang on just a second. You're going to have new leadership at that point. Oh, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Because you think the new leadership is going to green light going after the border czar? Right? If you guys feel like you're in the Biden FBI or whatever, and you guys feel that Trump is corrupt, and whoever's going to come in as the FBI directors, they're all going to be corrupt. Are you serious? You've got this guy, you got him dead to rights, right here, right now, accepting a $50,000 bribe. But no, you're going to wait and see if he actually tries to dole out some of these contracts to some people. And then, once you get into this corrupt regime, where they're clearly not going to allow you to, then you're going to go and arrest this guy because they're not going to allow it. Yeah, that makes total sense. It makes complete sense. Let's wait until this corrupt regime comes in before we actually go and attack the border czar. Folks, once again, fake news machine. They're trying to drum this up because, once again, Democrats, all right, they don't care about the truth, because Democrats, they're just going to buy into this hook, line, and sinker, right? They're just caught. That's it. Fish on, if you will. They're just going to buy this. They're not going to think anything past what's written on the page. They're not going to think about logical inconsistencies. They're just going to come up and say, oh, well, Donald Trump's regime is corrupt. They dropped an investigation where Tom Homan took a $50,000 bribe. Now, that's going to be fake news being spread all over the place. When there's no evidence, they won't produce the audio recording. Kash Patel's already said it's baseless. They said there's no credible evidence whatsoever. Plus, Tom Homan is not in charge of issuing grants or contracts, He doesn't oversee that part of the government. Plus, his position is not a position of authority. It's an advisory role. That's it. He advises on what ICE should do, how they should conduct their operations. That's it, folks. That's all Tom Homan does. So the fact that they're drumming all this stuff up, trying to say, oh, he accepted a bribe so he can issue out contracts. Corruption! Is it corruption, or should we issue a correction to say that, yeah, this is pretty much, none of it makes any sense? We'll say it like that. I'm just saying, folks, there's so many holes in this story. That would have arguably advanced the seriousness of the case from conspiracy to commit bribery to actual bribery. Is that so? I love that right there, because, hang on just a second. He accepted the bribe. You've got him dead to rights accepting the bribe, but yet you can only charge him with conspiracy to accept a bribe? And you're going to have to wait until he does the quid pro quo, until he doles out the contract for it to be bribery? Come on, folks. Do they think we're that dumb? Do they really think we're that dumb? Yes, folks, they think you're that dumb. They think that you're just a lemming, that you're just going to read whatever's on the page and just be like, yep, this is what happened. You're not going to think about anything, folks. Once again, these people, man, they just don't think beyond the words that they write. They just don't. They just see a story and they're like, ooh, I can drum some stuff up. It's fascinating, y'all. The seriousness of the case from conspiracy to commit bribery to actual bribery. Right. But the probe was scotched by the new incoming Trump political appointees at DOJ. Like I said, folks, once again, do we really believe that these people were that dumb that they would think, okay, so if Trump gets elected, he's going to allow us to carry out this investigation to its fullest extent and allow us to go and arrest Tom Homan for bribery, for crying out loud? Emil Bove, then the acting deputy attorney general and now a judge on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, told Justice Department officials he did not support the investigation, MSNBC reported. Bove called it a deep state operation, according to Reuters, which reported that Patel ordered the investigation closed over this summer. Of course he did, because there's no credible evidence at all. You can't even produce the audio recording. And then once again, it's all wrapped up in the quote-unquote investigation, right? They should release all this information, but they haven't. So what they're basically doing right now is this is an anonymous source that we have no idea who it is telling the corporate press this is what happened. We have no idea if this was even a real investigation, folks. We have no idea. Try to go source any material to look this up, to try to fact check any of this. Nothing whatsoever. I got crickets is what I got, essentially. So we have no idea what's going on with this. It doesn't sound right because, once again, there's so many holes in the freaking story. You know, for one, Tom Homan doesn't have anything to do with issuing contracts to anybody. That doesn't make any sense. He pretty much directs ICE on tactics and advises them on how to conduct operations, for goodness sakes. None of that makes any sense. Plus, you got this audio of him supposedly accepting $50,000, but that's not proof of anything within itself. Right? Let's go look at his bank statements. Did he make some random deposit of $50,000? Couldn't find it, folks. Once again, couldn't find that. Cash Patel comes in and says, oh, there's no credible evidence of any of this. Now, we can either take his word for it, or we can believe that behind the scenes, all this nonsense took place that doesn't make any sense, and Cash Patel is trying to cover for him. I'm just saying, which one are you going to buy into? I think that's all I got on this one, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. It's fascinating, y'all, but, you know, they've got to drive viewership somehow, right? Let's just make some stuff up. Might as well. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you would, mull it over for me. Think about clicking that join button. Sign up and become a member. It's the best way to help this channel expand and grow. But y'all do all that. Y'all try to have a good day. And remember that God's always with us. I almost forgot to say that. God is always with us, and He loves each and every one of you out there. But y'all stay legitimate. Peace.